Hey everyone, welcome back to our 28-day Acts challenge. You are almost there. You are on day 25. And on behalf of me and the rest of the staff, we're so honored that you are sticking with us for this challenge. You're almost there. You can see the finish line in reading a whole chapter of the Bible. So today we're looking at Acts 25. So one of the things that I first learned when I moved to Minnesota, well, I moved in the fall, and it took me no time at all to discover that Minnesotans were very, very passionate about Viking football. People wear their Viking jerseys around. They are sure to be out of church by the time that the pregame starts. I learned that very early on. And when they talk football, they talk about strategies, and then I never knew the word skull until I moved here. That is how passionate that people are here about Viking football here in Minnesota. And passion is important. If you're passionate about something, you're going to keep going even if your team is losing. If you are passionate about something, you're going to keep talking about it, even if it's not going very well. You're going to keep pursuing it. You're going to keep cheering them on. If you're passionate about something, you want to see it succeed. And in Acts chapter 25, we find Paul in custody. Paul is under house arrest and he's awaiting trial. And what's really interesting about this chapter is that Paul is being questioned, persecuted, and plotted against by the Jewish people. Now, these are the same people that he used to be on their team, the same people that he used to be part of, the same people that was until his conversion to Christianity, until his encounter with Jesus. And they don't like that he is now playing for the other team. So here's the big question. Because you see, for them, the Jewish people, they are passionate about the Jewish law, and kind of rightfully so. They're passionate about the Jewish law in the same way that Paul once was. It's like overnight for them, Paul was cheering for the Vikings, and then the next day he just turned into a Packers fan, and it threw them all for a loop. Why would they do something like that? Why would Paul go from persecuting Christians to leading Christians? This was really, really hard for them. Can you imagine if all of a sudden you showed up at your in-laws' house with a jersey on for the other team? How that would just blow their mind and infuriate them at the same time. But this isn't football. This is God. So this is even bigger, of higher importance for them. So the Jewish people, they're so frustrated with Paul, in fact, that they plot to have him killed. You see, Paul, he went from a passionate, zealous persecutor of Christians to a Christian. And for these Jews, that didn't make sense. And worse, he brought other people alongside with them. He shared his story of conversion and had others converted as well. This seemed impossible for them to wrap their heads around, seemed impossible for them to understand. So they plotted against him. They plotted against him. They had him beaten. They had him imprisoned. And they want him tried and convicted. Now, when is a time in your life that you have changed your mind about something? Has that ever happened to you in your life where one day you realized the Vikings aren't very good? I'm going to go be a Packers fan, or vice versa. Have that ever happened maybe in the church? I'm going to confess something to you today. Before I came to Calvary, I was strongly, I would say very strongly, opposed to modern worship music in church. I know that seems crazy now, but I thought that it was kind of bad. I thought that the theology in a lot of those modern songs was kind of bad, and I thought that if kids didn't learn the great hymns of faith, that it would diminish their overall faith experience somehow. I love traditional worship and liturgy, but when I came to Calvary, my eyes were opened to modern worship music. I saw how kids were drawn to it. I saw how kids danced and felt free to do it. I saw how kids kept singing those songs when they were at home, including my own children, and I was completely turned around on my thoughts on modern worship music. And it surprises me. So don't tell the people from my last congregation, because I think that it would surprise them too, how much I have changed my mind on modern worship music, to the fact that I even have a number of modern worship songs on my favorites playlist as well. You see, Paul's conversion and passion for sharing about Jesus caused the Jewish leaders to have this visceral kind of reaction. This visceral reaction, they wanted to defend their team, their Jewish faith, and their laws, to the point that they wanted to plot to kill Paul. Paul had betrayed them in such a big way, and they just couldn't wrap their heads around it. So, as people of faith and as the church, I think it's important that we open our eyes to what God is doing in our midst and in our world. If we're closed off, we risk becoming kind of like the Jewish leaders in Acts. If we're closed off to God continuing to move, we become so convinced and so passionate that our way is really the best way that we miss seeing what God is doing in the world. So, here are my questions for you today. Where in your life have you changed your mind about something? Maybe was it worship music or something else? And here's my second question. How did others react upon this change? Let's learn from those today. Thanks for joining us.